Hey guys, it's Kaz here, aka Cats and Camera, and today I'm going to be talking about Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare. This is going to have spoilers in, so if you haven't read this yet then don't watch the video yet, but come back after you have read it and see if we share the same opinions. Right, now first off, let me just get this straight. I like Cassandra Clare's books. I own all of the main books, I don't have the novellas. I will continue to read her work. On the other hand, I also absolutely despise her books, and I don't know how this polarising opinions attach and work, but they do. So I'm going to be saying a lot of things that I found annoying in this book, but that doesn't mean that I didn't like it. I just have this thing with Cassandra Clare's books where I find so many things annoying, but I also really like them. So Lady Midnight is my favourite Cassandra Clare book that I've read so far. When I read that, I gave it 5 stars, and I was like, wow, a book where most of the things in it don't annoy me. It's a miracle. So I was hoping that this would go in the same way. I was like, right, she's matured as a writer, all these things are different, there's really nice family connections in it, it's not just about all the lovey-dovey stuff, there's a lot about family, and I absolutely love that in Lady Midnight. And then Lord of Shadows. What do? We break up the family into little sections. No. Julian just does not feel like the same character in Lady Midnight. In Lady Midnight he was all about his family, and he says that in here, but also continually leaves them after about this much time together to go and do something else and go and do something else and go and do something else. He keeps saying that they're so important to him, but throughout this, how much time does he actually spend with any of his siblings? It's all just with Emma. Of course with Christina and Mark as well, but he's a character that goes on about how much he loves his younger siblings and how he's their father and their brother and their mother. But he spends hardly any time with any of them, and it really annoyed me because that was my favourite part of Lady Midnight, was how close-knit the family was. And she just ruined it in this book. First of all, I'm just going to talk about the cover. I'm not even sure who this is. I feel like it's probably Kieran because he hasn't got any marks on him. But not going to lie, he's kind of hot there. I don't know who that is, but I'm attracted to that piece of drawn person. So this book kicks off straight away. We've got Clare and Jace in it. And I was just like, I really hoped we'd seen the last of them, or at least hardly any of them. But there they were as soon as the story started, and it really annoyed me because I hate Clare and I don't like Clace. It's just really an irritating pairing for me. I feel like they don't even like each other, they just think each other are golden and hot, but there's literally nothing below surface level with her. That's a totally different thing, let's not get into it. But when Clare was talking to Emma and mentioned that she had a dream that she was going to die, I was like, yes! Please let it be soon. Please let it actually happen. Please let it not just be something that seems like a metaphor and she stays alive. I can't wait for Clare to die. But it didn't happen in this book, unfortunately. Fingers crossed it will happen in the next one, because I'm so over her coming into this series, because I like this series, because it doesn't have her as the main character. Another thing that annoyed me with the Clare and Jace is, why does they always have to be called their full name every time they're mentioned in here? Emma has known them for 5 years, but it's always, oh, Jace Herondale and Clare Fairchild are here. Jace Herondale is here. Clare Fairchild is here. Just call them Jace and Clary. We don't need the full name every time you talk about them. I just felt like the fact that they were in it so much, it was more fan service than actually to do with the plot, which was why it was annoying. They're just name dropping these names so people can be like, oh look, my OTP are in this book. And I really didn't feel like they brought much to the book. It just felt unnecessary, like you're chucking all the characters in. And talking about the other characters, they had those two. They had Magnus and Alec. They talked about Simon a few times being Clary's parabatai. Sorry, I always read it as parabati, but I know that's not right. Parabatai. And then it felt like Izzy didn't even exist. And I know on one hand I'm saying that it's fan service bringing all these characters in it, but if you're going to mention all of them from the first books, it's going to be really obvious when you completely miss out one of them and mention her name like once right at the end. It just felt really weird. Because Alec is in this quite a lot and Isabel is his sister, but we don't really hear her name until right at the end, like once randomly in passing. It just felt really weird, like she wasn't a character or they're trying to push her out, so yeah. If you're gonna fan service all of the Mortal Instruments, then don't just leave one out because it looks really weirdly obvious that you're leaving one out then. But talking about Magnus and Alec now, I don't like them with kids. I know, shock horror, everybody is in love with their family, but right, here's the thing. I don't mind that they've been together for 5 years and now they've got kids and they want a family. That's awesome. But the way it was written, it made Alec, who used to be this badass fighter, into a nanny. Every single scene that he was in, he was looking after the kids or taking the kids or helping the kids. And I know that is what a parent does, but if Magnus is so involved with all these other aspects of the fighting and the clave and everything, it just felt like Alec was relegated to nanny in the background, and it just felt so weird. If something this massive is happening to the Shadowhunters as a whole, it just feels like one of the main people that helped out get rid of Valentine and Sebastian, a person that is mentioned towards the end as literally have tapestries with him on, doing all this fighting and helping the world survive, is just the nanny in the background looking after the kids. I think towards the end of Lady Midnight obviously was Emma and Mark getting together in this fake relationship so Julian can fall out of love with her, and I actually didn't mind that. At the end of Lady Midnight, I felt like Mark had a sinister turn because he was like, oh, why should we pretend to be together? And it felt like it was going to take a little bit of a weird, sinister fairy turn. But it actually didn't, and they were both on the same page, even though Mark didn't know why he was pretending to be in a relationship with her. I liked that. I liked the way it was written. I liked that they didn't try and make it a proper love triangle. Obviously, Julian thought they were actually together, but there wasn't really that push and pull because Mark and Emma knew that they didn't really like each other that way. Obviously, we do have Mark in his own love triangle with Christina and Kieran, and honestly, I like them as a three-way. Is that weird? Are we not allowed polyamorous relationship rep? I feel like Christina, Kieran and Mark as this sort of, we're fairies, we don't care about this sort of thing. We both like each other. I like that. If Kieran, Mark and Christina happen as a triangle, all of them on the same page, I would enjoy that. Another sort of three-way but not in a relationshipy way I really enjoyed was Ty, Kit and Livy. I really wanted to see them more. We did see quite a lot of them going on missions and stuff, but I felt like I wanted to see their friendship together more in this book rather than all the other bits and pieces we saw. So, and obviously the ending, I mean, this is full of spoilers. We all know that Livy dies, and it's going to be so harsh on Ty. I know that's horrible to say. I'm not saying, oh, it's harsh that she died. I'm saying it's harsh because Ty is going to be so broken, and Kit's going to be there for him. And honestly, I know we're still on this, are they going to be a relationship, are they going to be parabatai? I really want it to be a relationship, just so we see that people with autism are people, they can have relationships. I would love if that's the rep she's trying to present. I really like the fact that Kit mentioned it. Obviously he's been in the human world, the mundane world, so he knows that Ty isn't alone. He just has autism. None of the other Shadowhunters know what that is, but I'm really glad that it was mentioned. I'm hoping it goes relationship way just for the fact that it can show that autistic people are people and they can have relationships with people just because they're not a fan of eye contact or touching with certain people. Yeah, I hope that's the way it goes, and I hope that Cassandra Clare writes it well. Let's talk about the Unseelie King and going and helping Kieran. So, I liked the whole going to Fairy and seeing all this crazy stuff and saving Kieran. But, right, the Unseelie King, I like the fact that he's this big scary dude. But, again, with the way that Cassandra describes him, like I mentioned that Clary isn't just Clary, she's Clary Fairchild, and Jace isn't just Jace, he's Jace Herondale. The Unseelie King, every single time we met him or talked about him or saw him, every single time she had to mention the fact that he had two sides of his face and one of it was horrific. And yeah, we get it. You've mentioned it every single time. You don't have to say he smiled with his normal side of his face and his horrible side of the face. I know he has a horrible side of the face. You've said it every single time we've mentioned him. It's really annoying the way that she has to remind you that the Unseelie King has two sides of his face. Don't describe it every single time we meet him. That annoys me, and she does it quite a lot in her books where she just describes the same thing. Another thing about that, the amount of times she talks about Julian's sea glass bracelet. We get it, he has a bracelet that Emma gave him ages ago and he still wears it. There's even a point in the book where I think it was Mark was thinking about something and he was like, blah 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 blah, yes, just like Julian's sea glass bracelet. Why would Mark be thinking about it so much as well? It's just mentioned so many times, it's unnecessary. It's always rubbing against something, or it's in the light, or it's there, or Mark's randomly thinking about it as well for no reason. Just don't. If you mentioned it a few times, it would be more poignant and have more impact than if you mentioned it every single time you talk about his arm. You know what I mean? Drew, bless her. I feel for Drew so much. She's just pushed out and she's not a part of the older kids. She's not 7 years old, so she's not a part of the younger child anyway. And the fact that she's always pushed together with Tavi, I feel for her so much because she's the same age that a lot of shadow hunters are when they go fighting, and she's just treated like a child and like somebody to look after Tavi. And I'm so glad that she said something towards the end and she was like, no, I'm not going to Idris, I'm staying here to fight. I'm glad she actually mentioned something to Julian, and I hope that he sees what she's feeling and will stop treating her like a child. But yeah, I really like Drew in this, bless her. She didn't get much story time, but when she did, I felt like we really got a sense of her character and how she felt in all of the situations. So yes, hopefully we see more of her in the next book. Right, next up, Zara and the cohort. Oh my god. I know we're meant to hate them, but my god. I hate the Clave so much. It's not just the cohort. The Clave as a whole governing body is so ridiculously stupid, and oh my god. It's been that way for like 100 years. Since the Infernal Devices, every single book that comes out, the people that are saving the world have to go against the Clave to do it. How have the Clave not realised yet that their laws are stupid? If every single time the whole of the Shadow Hunters are saved, they have to do it behind the Clave's back, how have the Clave not realised that, maybe we should open up some of these laws and we shouldn't be so stupid and against everything? It's so annoying. This book series and all of Cassandra Clare's are obviously fantasy, but they're dystopian as well. The government is so stupid, I hate it. I hate reading about the Clave. They just irritate me so much. I feel like they're more of an antagonist than the bad guys are in every single season. Every single series. But how are they so stupid and so against things that they need to not be against? The fact that they don't let shadow hunters use mundane medicine is absolutely pathetic. The fact that they're so against everything and everyone doing anything, oh my god, they annoy me so much. And then every single series, every time we've seen the Inquisitor and the Consul, they've always been really scary and they've always been up there, they're so important and everybody's bowed down to them and they're scared of them. But now as soon as we know who they are and we know that they're kind of nice shadow hunters that will actually try and help instead of hinder, all of a sudden all of the cohort are allowed to start throwing something at someone that's got the mortal sword in their hand and nobody stops them. The ending was so stupid. Oh my god. Why would they not do anything when they keep standing up and saying slurs and shouting stuff at Annabelle and be like, oh, she's lying, she's this, she's that? Why did they not get stopped by the guards? Why did they let them have placards in there and throw things at somebody that's holding them a mortal sword? It's crazy. How would that be allowed? That wouldn't have been allowed in any of the other series. I bet if in the Mortal Instruments, if somebody said one thing when someone was trying to get the mortal sword to find truth, they would be sent out or they'd be banished from the room or something bad would happen, the guards would stop them. But in here, a whole host of people can start throwing stuff across the room at someone with the mortal sword in their hand and nothing's done about it. A little, oh, can you please sit down? But there's guards in there. Why would the guards not stop them doing it? It was so stupid, so annoying. I hate the Clave. They're the stupidest government ever. Every single thing that they believe in is clearly wrong because every time that they've been saved, the people have to go against the rules. Also, something we saw at the end and threw out a little bit, it was Cortana. There's something there and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on there, why Cortana is so hardcore. I don't know whether it's because Emma's holding it and she's got this weird parabatai thing with Julian and the love, and it's making her stronger, so it's making Cortana stronger. I'm not sure, or whether it's just because of the metal and how it was forged. But she could cut down these evil fairy guys that I can't remember the name of, and she smashed the mortal sword with it, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on there and why Cortana is suddenly so awesome. Maybe it's because all of the Seraph blades are stopping working. Maybe that's making Cortana stronger. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm looking forward to that. You see, I am actually looking forward to something. It's not all irritating. I do genuinely enjoy the series. So Annabelle, I mentioned her a minute ago with the mortal sword. I really liked the fact that she wasn't the villain. I felt like she was going to get resurrected and then she was going to be this evil thing and they're going to go after her. But I really liked the fact that she was just this poor girl that got beaten and bruised and killed back in the day just for loving somebody. And she came back and she wasn't this evil person seeking vengeance on her Shadowhunters. She was just a sad, lonely girl, and I really enjoyed that. I'm sure the Unseelie King is probably who stole her at the end before Emma got to kill her. And I'm hoping that she doesn't go onto their side. I'm hoping she still has this sort of push and pull with the Unseelie King. She doesn't turn evil fully. Obviously, she killed Livy, so she is a bit bad, but I can see that that wasn't her fault. She was getting proper abused by everybody and shouted at and throwing things at. So yeah, I'm hoping she keeps Annabelle the same person that she is in here and she doesn't go to the dark side, as it were, because of what happened to her. She didn't want Malcolm to do all these horrible things and kill Emma's parents and bring her back to life. So I like the fact that she wasn't automatically a villain just because villainous things happened to bring her back to life. I also really liked Diana's storyline and the fact that she was trans. I thought that was a really nice inclusion and it wasn't made out this big massive deal. There wasn't things throughout her story that sort of gave it away, because it isn't a thing like that. It's just the person she is. She was born a girl, so she became a girl physically as well as mentally, and I like the fact that that was in there. And the fact that, yeah, the Clave are horrible, as I've mentioned a million times, and they're transphobic and homophobic and sexist and against anything good, but it was nice that the person she was talking to and explained it to was a fairy, which is ironic because they're apparently evil and horrible, but it was nice that she was telling him and he was just like, that's awesome. I always knew that you were the strongest girl I've ever met. Yeah, I really liked that. I liked that inclusion. It was a good thought out reason why she didn't want to get the mortal sword and be asked these questions to take on the Institute, and I thought it was really mature of Cassandra Clare for that to be the reason, rather than this. I could just imagine all these possibilities she'd go to about being in the circle or doing this bad stuff or being whatever, but I like the fact that it was just, she was trans. We all know the Clave are horrible and transphobic and everything phobic, so that's why she wanted to keep a secret. So yeah, I liked that. I did enjoy this book. I know I've said so many things about how I didn't, but I genuinely did enjoy it. But I did eye roll sometimes on how flowery the language was. It was so over the top sometimes. I actually tabbed a bit. So this is on about Kieran and Mark doing a little, you know, apparently, right. He tasted like the sweet ice of polar expanses under skies streaked with the northern lights. Kieran's shoulder was like the rise of hills, his hair soft and dark as clouds, his eyes were stars, and his body moved under Mark's like the rush of a waterfall no human eye had ever seen. He was starlight and strangeness and freedom. he was 100 arrows loose from 100 bows at the same time. Like, yeah, I get metaphors, but that is so over the top. Why is every single part of his body something metaphorical? It would have been different if I felt like she was explaining that as he kissed him, he was reminded of all these things that happened in the Wild Hunt. Like, he was reminded of when we was going through this and doing all these crazy hunty things. But it wasn't. It was just so over the top and metaphorical. I was like, really? Really? Every single part of him is a waterfall or a northern lights or hills or clouds, or I'm like, really? Ice? It's just, it's over the top. And the bit afterwards, fine. It says that Mark was lost and he was, and after that he was remembering all these things. They were riding a fire-shod horse over deserts. That's fine, but the beginning bit is just so over the top and just made me roll my eyes so bad, because she just makes it so flowery for no reason. That happened a few times in here and I was like, okay, Cassie, stop, because that's just so over the top. It's making me laugh. I don't feel like there's a connection with them. I just feel like you're being stupid and over the top. You can see there's only 2 tabs in this. The first tab is a great quote and I loved this. I'll read this, I'm sure you all know. This was when Christina was sad at Diego because she found out that he was engaged to Zara, who is a horrible, horrible, horrible person. So Emma said, let's crash the wedding. Emma suggested, I'll jump out the cake, but not in a sexy way, like with grenades. I loved that. There were very few snarky comments from Emma, but when they were in there I really enjoyed them, so I hope there's more of them in the next book. I feel like she wasn't used to her full potential because there was all this stupid pining over Julian, but there were a few nice snarky comments in there and I did really enjoy them. But again, with her and Julian, I'm just like, please talk to each other. How can you be that in love with somebody and keep so many things from them? That's what I find irritating throughout this book, and Cassie does it so well. She does this really irritating thing so well, but at the same time it's not well because I hate it. Just talk to each other. They both found out these things about this bond and how it's bad or how they can break it, but neither of them talk to each other about it, but they're so in love and they're 2 pieces of the same heart. Talk to each other. I'm so glad they did towards the end and they figured it out, and they're going to do this thing where Emma is cast out and put somewhere else so they can dampen the bond. But now all that crazy stuff happened at the end. I don't even know if that's going to go through with it or if they're straight away going to be trying to find Annabelle because of Livy getting hurt and they're going to totally forget about that. But I was glad that towards the end they did actually start talking and Emma explained everything. And I like the fact that Julian wasn't mad. He wasn't mad with Mark. He realised he was doing it because he wanted to help Emma. So you see, the characters can talk and they can resolve things and it does go really well. But it just takes like 400 pages for that to happen. And that's what's annoying about it. I feel like all I've talked about is the characters and how they're annoying. But like I say, I did enjoy this book. I think I gave this one 3.75. I gave Lady Midnight 5 stars. I really enjoyed that one. But this one, there was just something lacking. I felt like loads of stuff happened, but at the same time it felt really drawn out from the places when it happened. They went to the Shadow Market, they went to Fairy, they went to Cornwall, they went to all these places, but at the same time it didn't feel fast-paced enough. So yeah, that was something that I felt could have been better. It could have been a bit more fast-paced, or more could have been in there. I liked Drusilla. I wanted more of her. I wanted more of Ty and Kit and Livy as a team. I like that Kit has this outside perspective because he's been in the real world, so he can put that sort of experience onto these things. I did enjoy that. I liked when I can't remember what they were called, but when the fairies sent by the Unseelie King came down because they wanted the black volume, and then Annabelle turned up and she was a bit of a badass, and then Magnus came out and he was a bit of a badass, so I enjoyed that. Obviously it was sad at the end when Livy died, but also I heard so many people saying, oh, the end destroys you, I cried so much at the end, blah blah blah, that I knew that someone was going to die, so that was kind of annoying because I really like crying in books. If you ever seen any of my videos, like, I am a crier. And I felt like if I hadn't heard every person and their mother be like, oh, it's so sad at the end, I might have cried because it might have had more of an impact on me, but it didn't because I knew that it was sad at the end. So I'm like, yeah, when's this sad stuff gonna kick off then? So yeah, that was kind of almost spoilery without actually knowing who died. So yeah, that could have been better for my experience, but it was good that she killed off somebody. I had the opposite sort of reaction to A Court of Wings and Ruin. It really annoyed me that there was a massive battle and it was the last book and everybody got out scot-free and they were all fine. So I'm glad that somebody died in here. It was horrible, it was Livy, and it was so harsh. But it's also good that Cassandra actually had balls to kill one of the characters off. So I do appreciate that and commend her for doing that and breaking everybody's hearts. I'm interested to see where this whole Parabatai love thing does go, whether they're gonna try and break the bond which breaks every Parabatai in the Shadowhunter realm, or whether they're gonna find out something else to do, or whether there's gonna be a nice little twist and it isn't a bad thing and they actually gain more power and they don't become mad and kill everyone they love. I would like to see that. I mean, we all know that the Clave is a big pile of shit, so they probably lied, and the people that fall in love with the Parabatai probably become stronger and better and help and become amazing, because that's the sort of thing the Clave does. They see something that's amazing and think, we've got to put a stop to that, let's tell them. They'll destroy everything. Even though I've been talking for about a million years, there are probably a million things that I forgot to mention, so comment down below any of your thoughts about Lord of Shadows, whether you had some similar to me, whether you completely disagree with everything I say, whether you hate me now because I don't like Clace. Tell me down below. Let's get a conversation started. If this is your first video by me and I haven't just put you off, then please check out some of my others, and if you enjoy them then please subscribe, that would be awesome. Anyway guys, I will see you in a few days with another video. Bye. None of the other shadow hunters